آقا 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 پھر کے گلی گلی تباہ ہو کر صبر کی کھائے کیوں دل کو جو عقل دے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں رخصت قافلہ کشان غش سے ہمیں اٹھائے کیوں رخصت قافلہ کشان غش سے ہمیں اٹھائے کیوں سوتے ہیں ان کے سائے میں سوتے ہیں ان کے سائے میں کوئی ہمیں جگائے کیوں پھر کے دل کو جو عقل دے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں یاد حضور کی قسم غفلت عیش ہے ستم یاد حضور کی قسم غفلت عیش ہے ستم خوب ہے قید غم میں ہم خوب ہے قید غم میں ہم کوئی ہمیں چھڑائے کیوں وہ جو نہ تھے تو کچھ نہ تھا وہ جو نہ ہو تو کچھ نہ ہو وہ جو نہ تھے تو کچھ نہ تھا وہ جو نہ ہو تو کچھ نہ ہو جان ہے وہ جہان کی جان ہے وہ جہان کی جان ہے تو جہان ہے گلی گلی
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another edition of News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Marisburg 105.6 FM, and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba bikum. My name is Yunnus Sacoor, and I will be in your company for the next 2 hours, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I will be interviewing guests shortly. Today, the date is the 14th of May, 2025, and 16th of Zulqa'dah, 1446 AH. On tonight's show, I have quite an interesting list of topics to discuss. First one being, we've recently experienced a lot of water and electricity outages in KZN. And we know in the last 24 hours, load shedding has commenced as well. But stage 2, which is not too bad. But water outages is a serious problem in and around different wards in Durban. People are frequently having, underground water leaks and water supplies are sort of limited. So we'll chat on that. What's the cause? What can we do about it? How do we handle it? Then we talk about service delivery challenges. And the breaking news we have is that a lot of people have complained about high electricity, water billings to such an extent that they can't believe the accounts are so high. In an endeavor to assist tenants, the breaking news today is that council has approved a debt relief program, which was somewhat different from previous debt relief programs, whereby you had to sign an acknowledgement of debt, pay a small amount down, and the rest you paid over a 6 months or a year period. Now the council is really real to help people facing, sort of debts and they're not able to pay. So council today approved a write-off of 50% of the debt as of 31st January 2025, and the balance will be payable, in terms of either a sort of an AOD, an acknowledgement of debt, but we will chat about that a little bit later. Then we're also going to chat about the blue light brigade that's used by ministers and the abuse of the blue light, brigade. And we know a lot of accidents have taken place. Even the deputy minister was involved in an accident and the implications thereof. But a lot of our motorists are really getting misled when they see these people coming in with the blue lights, because you have criminals that also use these blue lights and create all kinds of problems. So we'll chat about that. Then later on in the program, we're going to chat about Budget 3, an analysis of it. Our economists will have a chat about it. What are the options that the Minister of Finance has? Because we know that the increase in VAT has been reversed. So obviously, a government has to recover billions of rands of revenue, and what are the options? And then last but not least, we'll give an update on the India-Pakistan conflict and the ceasefire. We pray and everybody hope that both the countries are closely associated with each other. There is an unnecessary conflict, and we hope this ceasefire will bring relief to both the regions, because it becomes a huge problem where lives are lost, a lot of revenue is lost, and we will look at that as well. On my show tonight, I have Councillor Moulana Tariq. He's from the PFP. He's also from Ward 52, and he's also a civic activist. Let me introduce him. Moulana, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to Brother Haji Yunnus Sacoor and the listeners of Al Ansar.
Shukran for joining us, Moulana. I know you come all the way from Phoenix and you got a lot of challenges out there, not only water and electricity outages, but this debt relief. And I think your party has also supported this debt relief program. I have with me also Preggy Govender. He's from the Ward 30 committee. He's a deputy chair of Bonella Residents Association. Preggy has got a keen interest in these water outages and electricity outages, and whenever they take place in that ward, he's ever ready to go and establish what happened, where's the leak, how can we get water back as quickly as possible. He's also involved with other wards, works closely with other wards, and he mentioned that civic activism is absolutely necessary by all residents. Preggy, good evening and welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International.
Good evening, Mr. Sacoor, and thank you for Radio Al Ansar for having me over, and thank you to the listeners.
It's a pleasure having you. Then we've got Mr. Narend Ganesh. He's been previously in my show. He's Narend Ganesh Jr. His father was the ex-co-councillor way back in the 2000s. He's a political analyst, party head of NIXA, political commentator. He writes a lot of articles. Narend, good evening and welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International.
Good evening, Yunnus, and good evening to the listeners, and thanks for having me on the show tonight.
Okay, so we'll comment on tonight's show. The show is interactive and we welcome your comments, which can be sent to us on studio WhatsApp number 0609041056. And hopefully whatever messages you send our guests this evening will have a chat on the issue. Later on in the program, we're going to chat about the Budget 3 analysis and the India-Pakistan conflict and the ceasefire. And we'll have guests coming in later on in the program. But let's kick off with Preggy. Preggy, I know in Ward 31, Ward 27, and all the different wards, and I was an official in council back in the day, and it was unheard of having these frequent water outages. It was unheard of because I know we had quite an efficient engineering department. The head water was quite a competent individual together with officials there. But the only difference was that pre-apartheid water was only supplied to certain areas. Now it's been extended to all the wards, and that's why the demand is greater than the supply. But we're glad that we're getting a lot of rain, but the infrastructure becomes a big problem. So perhaps you want to just highlight to our listeners, having been involved in really inquiring why the water outages and exactly how quickly can water get back, both in your ward, in other wards. What is your experiences, Preggy, on the water side? Then we'll chat briefly on the electricity side as well.
So, Mr. Sacoor, the water issues from the official version from eThekwini municipality is that we have urbanization, which is an increase in densification in terms of an exponential growth with regard to population in the eThekwini region. We have a second situation where the Amgeni water has reduced the amount of water flow into the eThekwini region by about 115 megaliters, which is like about 115 million liters per day. We have very serious infrastructure problems in terms of burst pipes and leaks and poor maintenance. The last one that I'm going to mention is that, in my opinion, to the various official view to this entire situation is a miscalculation and a mismanagement by the municipality or planning into its future. And one of the important things that I want to talk about there is of the amount of water that is given to the city every day, 58.2% of that water is being wasted in terms of leakages, poor maintenance, infrastructure problems, and as well as theft of water. So ratepayers of the city of Durban is roughly receiving 42% of that water.
So that's non-revenue water.
That's non-revenue water.
Now, in terms of the leaks, because of poor infrastructure and poor workmanship, because I understand in many areas, contractors are deployed to go and fix up underground leaks, which curtails water or reduces water supply, or even stops water supply. And when they go on site, they repair that one portion of the pipe, and a couple of days later it bursts again, or maybe another portion bursts. Is that one of the problems in many of the areas? So
when we look at the 58.2%, I would break it down to half and half, roughly about 27% of stolen water and another 27%, roughly, I'm using that as an hypothetical figure, of water lost through leakages. One of the biggest problems that I've seen and witnessed is that there isn't a will by the Durban municipality to seriously deal with the issue of water leaks. I think the programs of tenderizing these processes, of putting inefficient people in place, not having enough money in terms of having proper material and stuff like that, has created further issues with regard to water. Just a simple one to give an example. The meter reading or the water meter department itself, they are sitting like about 10 days backwards. So if somebody's got a burst water meter, and because of the internal politics between the repair grouping of maintenance that goes out and fix it with plumbers and another department responsible for water meters, the water can continuously run for 10 days unchecked, which leads to a huge amount of water being lost and also inconvenience in far as the ratepayer is concerned, because that person doesn't have water for 10 days. So the will is lost. And if you go back to October last year, where the municipality put out a program when they announced the reduction of water and plans to improve it, they spoke about the issue of restrictors. They spoke about getting ward-based plumbers to improve the repair system, the turnaround time, and a whole range of issues that will help resolve this issue. Nothing to date seems to be happening. So the residents are facing the crisis of having no water as a direct result of the inefficiency by the municipality itself.
So how frequent are these water outages? Are they, like twice a month, thrice a month? Or, it's a luxury having water for the whole month?
So we have a situation since October last year when Amgeni Water decided through the national government to curtail the amount of water in through the mainstream reservoirs and especially to the treatment plants. It has doubled the problem in the sense that we've already had a water crisis with an exponential growth of people, and we've curtailed that water, which made it very difficult for ratepayers now to have continuous water flow. For a period of time, it was okay for a period of about 5 to 6 months. But what we've noticed in the last 3 to 4 months and more recently, people are now going without water for days on end. And workers or DWOs, as we call them, distributing officers, are finding it difficult to manage this balancing act. So we've got situations where reservoirs are not receiving its quantities, and we have situations where ratepayers are now not getting water for 3-4 days at a time, and we are now totally reliant on tankers, which is also just as difficult. So basically, we have gone to a situation where we become beggars for water.
Good, Preggy. I want to bring you in, Moulana Tariq. You're a councillor in Ward 52, and I know Phoenix is a massive area. I mean, there's a large township of housing developments in that area. I recall when I was in housing, and when we completed the housing development in Chatswood, then we started to move people into Phoenix, and then it developed, and you've got a lot of self-help housing projects and private residential projects. And how is it in Phoenix? Are you facing a similar problem and with similar sort of infrastructure challenges?
It's the same in Phoenix. I think the entire Teguini, if we look at it, everyone are facing this water challenges. Water, I think, is more frustrating to the residents of Iteguini is that one is we have the aging infrastructure. The time around of getting this, they lodge it and they get a reference number. Then they are waiting that we don't know when will it be repaired. There are instances of water. Now, if we're facing only on the water instance, sometimes it goes up to more than 2 days or 3 days or more. In electricity, it goes up to 5 days sometimes, and people's frustrations become high now because it absolutely falls on deaf ears sometimes. And the same with water now. And remember, people coming from work, the Phoenix community, or anywhere, I wouldn't say only Phoenix, the whole of Iteguini, when they come home in the evening part, you're expecting fresh water to be given to you. And you have many needs of whether prayer, whether cooking or whatever it is, and to work for the whole day and come home and see that there's no water in it now, it's like an added list came into our lives now. And this has frustrated the residents to such an extent now because remember, if there's no electricity, I'm not justifying, but you can light a fire or you can do something or gas or whatever it is and find a way to solve it. But if there's no water now, what do we do now? So the turnaround time for this year is absolutely we would say that it's a waiting period, that how would you get it resolved, and sometimes they don't have the part or the valve or something has gone wrong, or the next shift is changing, and there's something to these things here which is frustrating to the residents of Iteguini. And this is a crisis, I would say, in all over Iteguini, in all parts of Iteguini, not only in a certain area. I hear the gentleman speak about the Mayville area, but I think this is the crisis in all areas of Iteguini, that where you will find the water shortages that are happening in this way here. And these frustrates the resident, especially with children. And then you look at the chronic patients that they're in need of water. Now, I'm talking on poverty stricken now, like for example, the Phoenix area. I have a choice now. Must I buy bottled water or buy a loaf of bread? Which one would I choose now? Now, the community will choose that let's buy a loaf of bread now. And this is how it become now a choice that's put, and which is quite hard now. Lately, you saw something was going around about boiling the water, for example. Now this has brought questions to the community in terms of understanding how would I be able to solve the water situation.
Now, coming back to, I know that there is a problem with the infrastructure, the general infrastructure in terms of the bulk water supply. And I know the former head water, Neil McLeod, he had a plan in action, and I'll bring Narend Ganesh in because I know from his dad's time when he was in EXCO, there was mention that in view of the increase in supply of water to the communities that are coming on board, because now the council is getting, or the areas are getting integrated, look at the infrastructure in those different areas because obviously they can't cope with the water supply. So a lot of it is underground water leaks, burst water pipes. I think Preggy mentioned that the personnel, the maintenance personnel in the water department, they're not as effective. Maybe a lot of them are not engineers, they're not qualified, and the turnaround time to respond is problematic, unlike the past, that they had a lot of staff, and these staff are competent, and whenever there's a leak reported, at least timeously, within a few hours, they had the plumbers out there and they repaired and they resumed water supply timeously. In some areas for 3 or 4 days. We know the floods did create its own kind of problems, but the government has got over that. But now, obviously, the water tankers are also inefficient. Some of them are just, not supplying the water timeously, and some of them are even charging for water. So what would you attribute from your perspective as a councillor, that what's coming up for discussion in your portfolio committees in Exco and Council as the reasons for the frequent water outages, and what is the way forward?
To me, I think the reason for this is our aging infrastructure, and secondly, our thing is the planning. If they have a plan, that yes, for us to say how can we solve this thing, because remember it's ongoing, and we need to have a plan. And the planning to this is very, very, because remember at one stage, Itegweni was living on water tankers. And this is how it was now. But we can't live with water tankers when we have an infrastructure with us there. So in terms of in water tankers, this is not how we live. We want to open the tap and want to see water, especially in the minority community. It is that they are not used to going fetching water from outside, and they want to open the tap and they want to see. So the planning part of it now, in terms of us planning now, I don't think there's poor planning. We need to find out how we can get the planning. And remember, in the past, as you said earlier on, in the past, I think they didn't outsource many of these things. It was done within the municipality and it was done in-house. And they had the availability of everyone that was there 24 hours, 24/7, that they could come and solve these things here. So saying that, yes, we're going to change and we are going to change this year, is we need to make a difference to this now. And the difference is only going to come by if we win the confidence of the residents of eThekwini in terms of saying, yes, the water issue will be changed and how it's going to change. Remember, they have a rollout plan. The rollout plan is going to take a lot of, we need the budget for the rollout plan. We need the rollout plan to come into action, people to understand the rollout plan, and they're putting plan. But we need an immediate curb of this entire thing to see how we'll be able to. And as you said, yes, the flood came and added more disaster to this year. But if we had proper drainage systems from the past, as you're saying, Mr. Ganesh's father who was there at that time gave them, even if it came during those periods, if they took on these things and come, we wouldn't be sitting with a backlog after so many years now, because we would be able to now resolve and solve this thing. But because everyone was in a relaxation mode now, when it hit Durban or hit Ethekwini, it hit us from all sides, and then came the flood and came everything after one after the other, and all this added to this year now. So I would think that, yes, if we planned and looked at whatever, budgets were always available to us in the past now. Budgets were always there, but did we go and do these things? And then you find, why are the faults coming so long? It's coming like in one road, it's coming 3 times. You just fix one pipe here, in the next 2 kilometers, the next pipe, because obviously the pressure of the old infrastructure cannot handle these things. So these are some of the reasons why we are sitting in this situation now.
Noted. Preggy, you wanted to make a few comments?
So there's something that I want to add to this thing. In my opinion, and with due respect to Moulana and Councillor, I think the politicians have failed us. I think water is an important start to a human life, the basic of all the other necessities, a constitutional right. And I think that we have given it too much of lip service in all reality. I think we've just accepted as a society, and the complacency within both municipality and society in just listening to lip service. I think there's been a lot of lip service given by the former mayor, from the city manager, and all those that are responsible for water. I think nobody has held anybody accountable. And I think this is a failure, in my opinion. Council are made up of representatives of which voters put them in. And these voters are representatives, have a direct responsibility to their voters in ensuring that these basic services are given, as they are the custodians of the city. So I think we need to take this very seriously, that we should hold our councillors accountable. They are the politicians. They are making the decisions. There are no administrative staff at municipality. Councillors are elected to these various positions, including EXCO. And I think that the big so-called opposition political parties and even some of the minority parties are not doing enough. It would appear to me that they coming up to their wards, they dishing out what the people want, what the council is expecting them to dish it out, and I think they're not taking the seriousness of the sufferings of people. Mr. Sacoor, I sit on the streets every day, and it is absolutely pathetic to see in the 21st century of a country that's one of the finest in Africa, to be seeing ourselves, old children, women bear the brunt of the water crisis. They are the ones standing like beggars, waiting for water for hours on end at water tankers. I personally walk around with those water tankers. And I think councillors need to see these sufferings. 90%, and I'm using the word in most areas, water tankers come into an area, they leave an area, and you don't find councillors there. It is civil society that is taking that responsibility. And if you look at my comments recently, I have asked for a civil defiance activism against council. I think the issue of asking councillors to represent us need to stop. So civil society need to act together, put themselves together, and hold council responsible in terms of marching and bringing the city to a standstill.
Some very important points there. The role of civil society. Municipal elections are coming up in 2026. We spoke about the role of ratepayers, how they should hold council accountable. I had certain ratepayer organizations coming in and saying, there are processes to withhold payment for utilities and rates, etc. We'll unpack that later in the show. We'll have a small break and we'll continue after that.
Looking for top quality tools and hardware at unbeatable prices? WhatsApp us at 081-450-6082 or shop online at hyperhardware.co.za. For fast, reliable service, we deliver nationwide.
Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031 306 4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickfield Road, Overport. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
Butterlicious, butterlicious, butterlicious. When the food melts in my mouth, so does my heart. Blended by our expert chefs with pure cotton seed oil. Divine lasts longer, so cook more with Divine. Divine makes every meal a special treat. It is Butterlicious. Approved as part of the Heart and Stroke Foundation Eating Plan, Cotton Mark SA, and a proudly South African product. Divine Cooking Oil. Butterlicious.
We're still in the running and you can help us win it all. Radio Al Ansar is honored to be recognized in 3 exciting categories on the Best of Durban Readers' Choice Awards 2025.
Best Local Radio Station,
Radio Al Ansar,
Best Local Radio Show,
Urban Woman and Afternoon Jam,
Best Local Radio Personality,
Razia Rangrage. The voting deadline has been extended to 18th May, so don't miss your chance to help us win. Visit bestofsouthafrica.co.za/Durban, head under Entertainment section, or simply scan the QR code on our socials and vote in seconds. Let's make 2025 a winning year for Radio Al Ansar.
This segment is brought to you by Kenfield Auto, your RMI approved service and repair specialist. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Kenfield Auto.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم.
I won't start.
Kenfield Auto.
Noisy brakes.
Kenfield Auto.
Due for a service.
Kenfield Auto. Kenfield Auto, the answer to all your car problems. Your service and repair specialist for your VW, Audi, Suzuki, Toyota, or just about any vehicle. Kenfield Auto, your RMI and insurance approved workshop to handle them all. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Call us on 031 207 2399. Kenfield Auto.
With 49 years of experience in the motoring industry, Metro Car Sales has been proudly serving you since 1976. Need a great deal on your next car? We've got you covered. We offer in-house finance arranged in 1 hour. So, what are you waiting for? Call us now on 033 3942 595. Visit us today at number 1 Boshoff Street, Pietermaritzburg. You can also check out our amazing deals online at www.metrocars.co.za. Metro Car Sales, your number 1 dealer in wheels.
Looking to book a venue for that special occasion? Come and book the Conference Centre on 207 West Road or Community Hall on 189 West Road, which accommodates 120 to 300 people with ample and safe parking. For all your hall requirements, contact the Reservations Department on 031 208 1601 or email us at reservations@alansar.org.za. Save the date. Don't delay. Book away.
Radio Al Ansar, 24/7, 365.
दिल को जो अक्ल दे खुदा तेरी गली से जाए क्यों है तो रज़ा निरा सितम जुर्म पे गए लजा हम है तो रज़ा निरा सितम जुर्म पे गए लजाए हम कोई बचाए सौ से गम कोई बचाए सौ से गम साज़े तरब बजाए क्यों
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Marsberg 105.6 FM, and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Before the break, we had a brief chat with Moulana Tariq, and he gave us a bit of an idea or a synopsis of what's happening in the Phoenix area, and he indicated this problem of water outages is common throughout the city, and it could be attributable to various factors: poor infrastructure, substandard plumbing maintenance from these plumbers in the different areas, and then also, people are not hands-on in terms of timeously repairing the water leaks, but at the same time, the quality of personnel within the departments is highly problematic. The water tanker contractors are also problematic. And then Preggy mentioned, that, the residents and the ratepay associations must become civic active and take responsibility and hold councillors accountable. But very important here is that the eThekwini ratepayers movement took council to court in wanting to withhold rates and service charge payments until service delivery is improved. And unfortunately, the courts ruled that we must follow all processes to hold the government accountable or councillors accountable. And if that is exhausted, then, in terms of the Municipal Systems Act and the Structures Act, there are certain legislative requirements. But Preggy, you want to come in when you mention that we must start looking at withholding, payment for services and rates. What is the likely process? Because on the one side, councillors have been elected to represent communities or the wards. Now, some of the councillors in these minority areas, they are in the minority. They may have had a coalition with the ruling parties, but still, they are bound by the policy decision taken by council. And fortunate to unfortunate, some of the areas have got better infrastructure, and particularly those that didn't have water in the past, like Amlasi, Kwamashu, and they may not have frequent water outages as other areas that have got aging infrastructure. So that becomes a challenge. That's the one area. The other area is the competency of the staff in the municipality from the city manager downwards. In the last couple of weeks, I had ratepayer associations joining me, and they've indicated that when vacancies have come up, experienced engineers have been replaced by inexperienced personnel. And this is where the problem comes in, because the guys don't have the knowledge and understanding on how to timeously attend to these problems, whether it's electricity outages, water outages. Whereas in the past, within a few hours, the repairs were done. Or if it was a major water leak, then they would bypass the main pipe, put in temporary piping to ensure water supply is taken care of until the major repairs are undertaken. What's your suggestion, Preggy, in that regard?
So let's unpack from the beginning, okay? When we look at the minority parties and we look at the political involvement in this, we need to start to say that when we go back to the 2021 elections, the ruling party did not get a majority. We put a lot of residents in different wards put their hands in smaller political parties. These political parties had a sway at municipality. Somewhere along the line, they compromised their mandate. And their mandate was to offer a different process from the rank and file political parties. Unfortunately, at the very inception, they immediately forgot their mandate or the promises that they made to their various constituencies and went ahead and allowed the majority party to take control of the municipality. I still believe, from a political perspective, that if we take the opposition political parties together with all the number of small political parties, we can bring down the municipality. And when I say bring down, it's not to create a coup, but to make them accountable and bring them to the sense. Because it's very clear after 30 years that we have now complacency that have set in and power that is totally left unchallenged. So we need to all these parties, when we're coming back to 2026, accountable for their failures and let the city down, because their mandate was something different. Then again, when we look at GNU, I'm coming back to that now, it would appear that the major political parties have formed a government of national unity with regard to, on a provincial level, with regard to the actors on the municipal level, and the so-called role in which they were to play opposition politics and bring to the forefront the issues facing community, that seemed to have been lost now. We're starting to hear lesser of their voices in terms of opposition. Instead, they're becoming bearers of the news of the ruling party. So we're now in a quandrum. Getting back to the next issue of woodholding services, there's a scary point in terms of that court case, which I've studied and understood it quite clear, that was brought about by Assad. And I must point out that Assad has done an exemplary job in respect to representing the ratepayers of the city. The problem lies here is that in the event you start to now withhold funds, and unless we take those funds and put them in a safe place, because we must never forget those funds will always be owed by the municipality. It mustn't be used as a loose ticket saying that I'm not paying my bill of 6,000 rands and that allows me extra money to spend. It will compound the problem when the time comes for you to pay. So unless we have a mechanism that can ensure that those funds are put in a place that can be reutilized, then only that it becomes a major tool against this type of thing. Going back to the court ruling in which they said that we need to exhaust all avenues, then that way civil society needs to come forward. Civil society needs to get to their councillor officers, put their councillors on par with regard to what is going, hold them accountable, start the process of civil defiances in their areas, little picket demonstrations, making the city aware. Everything starts small. This country was brought down without too much of firepower. And I'm not saying that we need to be militant, but we changed the government. It's one of the only countries in Africa that we didn't have to have a civil war, but we managed to bring this country down. We can do it again, especially when we're talking about service delivery. Because if civil society does not take this matter serious, we could find ourselves in a position of no return, that the order of collecting water on street corners, the order of going without lights for periods of time will become a daily occurrence. Back to the situation of inefficiency. In my understanding, it is two-pronged. One is that, yes, we do have inefficient times municipal plumbers and people that are maintaining the leaks. But there are a lot of very genuine workers. I have worked with them, distributing water officers, people that are involved in manipulating the reservoirs. They find themselves in a quandary where they are also under politicians and senior management. And in fact, it's politicians and senior management that left these people at the slaughter, because they're simply not dealing with the problems and leaving it to lower ranking people to find solutions of which senior management need to deal with.
Moulana Tariq, you want to come in there? Just to comment on, I know you're one of the minority councillors in council, you're in a particular portfolio committee, but obviously you will raise the issues of your community. Although you may have a coalition of sorts with somebody or one of the parties, but at the end of the day, there's so much you can say, and beyond that, you have a problem. Perhaps you just want to unpack exactly some of the challenges you face in council.
I think any coalition, if you're looking at it, must be based on the needs of the community, and it must be based on service delivery and how can it make a difference to a community. So if there should be a memorandum of understanding in terms of a working relationship that, yes, what can I get the best out to give the community and to service the community, because remember, those amount of voters have given you their vote to make sure, because people had lack faith in the political system. If you ask people currently, they don't even want to vote for the current political parties that were present. I'm talking about the 2021 elections that have taken place there. People has lost faith in the political system, and they wanted to see new people, they wanted to see new faces, they wanted to see new parties that could make a change now, because they lacked faith in the political system that was there. And many of these political parties obviously were huge, it was big, they had many of their own differences that they are. In terms of being a minority party now, we don't sit at the level of where we would the EXCO. The EXCO sits, they decide on many policies, they decide, and we should be obviously holding them accountable to these things, because they are EXCO members, they are part of it, they hold seats on this, decisions are being made there, they're part of it. They can object to things before it comes to council in terms of it as a matter coming to council now. Now these, you also find, as you said, portfolios. Many people are sitting in many portfolios. At a portfolio level, the matter is brought. You can object in your portfolio, then you come into full council, we debate and we go hours and hours about this. But in our portfolio committee, we can say, no, listen, this is going to be, for example, the restrictor is going to be too much, or it can't be put, whatever it is. So we have these the facilities to be used there. We need to find a way to see how we can get our people, because obviously we need a municipality to run. We need a municipality to give us services. We need municipality to give us XY of our living necessities. But we need to find a way. If you ask every one of us that, listen, let's leave our political difference and let's come together to make sure the service of water is given to everyone, then we still have a political infighting, because they want to know who accomplished this. Can we not accomplish this, all of us together, and say, let's change the norm of politicians and let's change the norm of the political arena in our country, and all of us together for this 5 years that we want to sit here, let's give it Tegwini water. And if we give it Tegwini water, we've achieved our goal for being there in council. And we've been there to achieve, this is what we want. But we too now, we want to, slander each another, we want to fight. Yes, I also believe that, yes, each person wants to grow their party and want to prepare for the election. But at the same time, I'm saying, cannot all of us sit together? For example, I have an idea in my mind. We have so much of plumbers outside. I'm talking about private plumbers who have the mentality and have the facility to probably fix. If we all of us put our get together and say, listen, there is one person in this gentleman from Mayville in his ward who knows exactly what's to be done there. Why not we consult? Why not we have a consultative forum to say, yes, have a business forum that can be an advisory capacity to all of us. Now, remember, each of us, probably I may not have the access, but other parties that are there, they have people sitting in ministry level. They have people with the GNU. You have some of their people are ministers. Can we not resolve this issue? Is this going to be an ongoing issue that how we got? Then we find certain communities went and put boreholes. Then we found the legality came out from the boreholes. Those residents were trying to see how they can save water, how they can give water to the community. Then we find, no, there is now a legality process to the borehole. Now, in all this year, how we are giving service to the community. And this is what we need to do now, is to see how we all can get together and put our services to how we can be the better citizens of our community. And this is what every one of us should have the citizens in our heart and see how we can resolve. Now, for example, the ratepayers that are there, these are voluntary people that are trying to see how they can make things happen. We shouldn't fight with them. We should take a consultative measures now and sit here. I'm sitting here today with an open mind. I'm going to shake this gentleman's hand. I probably is going to be my friend going forward, because I have to take things and say, listen, you say you always, when you come somewhere, you have to come with bulletproof vests. You got to take bullets. You got to listen, and you got to see how you can rectify the situation, because this is an error that is challenging, and it's an error that we need to see how we can change the norm and change the examples now. So to me, it's like we should all see how can we get together. I would wait for where Tegwini municipality can say, irrespective of which party you belong, come to a community hall. Let's all of us sit together and see how we can find this water solution to be sorted out. How are we going to make this water problem solver? And as a Tegwini, if we can't give water to our community here, or religious centers, we don't have water, then, I mean, these are issues that fresh water that we need. And I think it's our constitutional right to be given fresh water. So this is my take on this.
No, thanks. Some very important comments you made. I think important is for council to consider that we're working for the communities and not for a political party. And if people got that mindset, then they will ensure that wherever there's a need to improve service delivery, whichever party that particular committee voted for shouldn't be the criteria. We'll take a break for the news and we'll continue after the news break.
An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al Ansar News.
Making news this on the 14th of May. The news from Durban, 90.4 FM, Pietermaritzburg, 105.6 FM. KwaZulu-Natal Transport Department is livid at diesel theft from construction site, America Monina. The Department of Transport in KwaZulu-Natal has called for the arrest of 6 gang members who stormed a construction site in Bergville and stole 300 litres of diesel. It's understood that a group believed to be part of a construction mafia held workers at gunpoint before robbing them of the diesel earlier in the week. The incident took place on a site where a road is being built at a cost of around 177 million rands. The department spokesperson Dabiz Ntlesbia says the robbery is the first of its kind. More news, greater educators who have not received their April salaries should expect them tomorrow. That's according to the South African Democratic Teachers Union, SATU, which has been engaging with the Department of Education in KwaZulu-Natal on the matter. SATU's KwaZulu-Natal's Namrashiat Aluza says the department promised teachers will receive salaries if a special payment run from the Premier's office is approved. Aluza says that the feedback from the department is that they have been granted a special run and are processing it, so the Teachers Union is looking forward to those payments. Aluza says she hopes issues such as delayed salaries will be avoided once the Bella Act is fully implemented, as it will make grade R attendance compulsory. In other news now, Electricity Minister Kosiento Ramakopa says they have failed to keep maintenance down. He says this is one of the reasons for stage 2 load shedding. Power cuts will continue until tomorrow during peak periods. Ramakopa did offer some light at the end of the tunnel. He says the winter outlook for this year is better than 2024. More than anything else, is giving reasons for stage 2 load shedding.
So the reason why we are here today is primarily because that promise of making sure that that plant maintenance comes down to below 5,000, we have not been able to fulfill it. So essentially, we have experienced what in technical terms we call outage sleep. So outage sleeps really simply means that there's a promise. Just imagine you take your car to a dealership for a service, and they tell you that bring it in the morning and then you'll have it available in the afternoon at 5. And then at 5 you go, they tell you, sorry, we are not ready. Please come tomorrow. You go tomorrow, says, please, we are still not ready. Please come the other day. Of course, we have made the necessary arrangements when they told you that they need it for the day, and then you can come fetch it close of business. You can do interim arrangements, how you drop kids at home, how you fetch them. I'm using that as an illustration. Of course, in this instance, we have failed to meet that promise.
And finally, international story. International media says, according to the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Tehran and the European parties to the 2015 nuclear deal will hold the fourth round of talks on the revival of the pact on the 16th of May. Ismail Baghai of Iran says today that the meeting will be held at the level of political directors of foreign ministries in Istanbul, Turkey. The main agenda of the meeting is to continue consultations with Germany, the UK, France, particularly regarding the indirect Iran-US negotiations. Iran and the European Troika have held 3 rounds of negotiations regarding Iran's nuclear file. So far, reports says previously it was planned that a new round of talks between Iran and Europe will be held in Rome on the 30th of April before the 4th round of Iran-US negotiations. However, due to the postponement of that round, the meeting with Europe was also delayed. In your weather, it's 25 degrees. A quick reminder of our top story. The Department of Transport in KwaZulu-Natal has called for the arrest of 6 gang members who stormed a construction site in Bergfield and stole 300 litres of diesel. That's the news.
This Eid al-Adha, donate your Qurbani through Africa Muslims Agency. We ensure that your Qurbani not only feeds the poor, but creates sustainable incomes for local farmers, teaches the practice of sacrifice to villagers, and shares the spirit of Eid. Sponsor in South Africa for 2,950 Rand. Africa for 2,000 Rand, Afghanistan at 4,500 Rand per share, or other countries around the world. Donate your Qurbani with AMA and know that your sacrifice brings the mercy of food, empowerment, and joy to communities in need.
We're still in the running and you can help us win it all. Radio Al Ansar is honored to be recognized in 3 exciting categories on the Best of Durban Readers' Choice Awards 2025.
Best Local Radio Station,
Radio Al Ansar,
Best Local Radio Shows,
Urban Woman and Afternoon Jam,
Best Local Radio Personality,
Razia Rangrage. The voting deadline has been extended to 18th May, so don't miss your chance to help us win. Visit bestofsouthafrica.co.za/Durban, head under Entertainment section, or simply scan the QR code on our socials and vote in seconds. Let's make 2025 a winning year for Radio Al Ansar.
Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031 306 4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickfield Road, Overport. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
Sponsor an orphan and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Al Ansar, Durban 90.4 and Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunnus Sacoor. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Radio Al Ansar, keeping you informed.
Radio Al Ansar.
Ya Habib Allah, Aka, 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 फिर के गली गली तबाह हो करे सब की खाए क्यों, दिल को जो अक्ल दे खुदा, तेरी गली से जाए क्यों रुखसत काफिला कशान गश से हमें उठाए क्यों रुखसत के काफिला कशान गश से हमें उठाए क्यों सोते हैं उनके साए में सोते हैं उनके साए में कोई हमें जगाए क्यों दिल को जो अक्ल दे खुदा तेरी गली से जाए क्यों यादें हुजूर की कसम गफलत ऐश है सितम यादें हुजूर की कसम गफलत ऐश है सितम खूब है कैद गम में हम खूब है कैद गम में हम कोई हमें छुड़ाए क्यों
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Marisburg 105.6 FM, and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Just before the news break, we were chatting with both Preggy Govender and Moulana Tariq on the issues of service delivery, particularly the water outages, and we unpacked some very, very important issues. But I want to bring in Narend Ganesh, political analyst, party head of Nixa, and political commentator. Paul Mashatile's Blue Light Brigade acquitted for assault on civilian road users at a cost of $235,000 to the taxpayer. He asked the question, mockery or magic? Now, many would have viewed the video that went viral showing Deputy President Paul Mashatile's henchmen, or as they are called, his personal protection, despicably and with utter disregard for the law, assault civilian road users in a manner absolutely unbecoming, and then fled the scene. Now, we know that there's been many abuses of the Blue Light Brigade, and, sometimes you're driving in the road and you find SAPs and Metro Police, coming in at high speed and pushing the cars one side to escort ministers to various meetings. But now certain, criminals are using this as a methodology of creating problems in the freeways, etc. So I'd like to invite Narend Ganesh to just give us a bit of a perspective about this particular issue and perhaps explain to our listeners out there what are the facts relating to this matter and what are the consequences. Narend, good evening and welcome back to News in Focus.
Good evening, Yunnus, and thank you very much. Yeah, look, the Blue Light Brigade saga is not something new. It's been here for quite a while. There have been many incidents where the Blue Light Brigade of various ministers have been involved in accidents and stuff that has caused death and damage. Now, the problem with Paul Mashatile's Blue Light Brigade is that we have that video which has gone viral. And as a result of that, on face value, prima facie evidence, it is clear that an attack and an assault had taken place on civilians in a very brutal manner. And these 8, as I would call them, thugs, were found or acquitted at the disciplinary hearing, internal disciplinary hearing of the South African Police Services. And, you know, some of the reasons that were given was that, and we must bear in mind that this hearing took place 20 months after the fact. 20 months, which is quite an extraordinary period of time for a disciplinary hearing to take place and to be effected. Some of the reasons were that there were chairpersons' recusal applications. Then there were members who were sick on hearing days. Then there was union reps unavailable. Then new reps demanding postponements. Employers blocked from responding to objections. So you see, they've used a procedural tactic to actually delay a fair justice system to operate. And you must remember, POPCRU and SAPU, the police unions, did not exercise the right for labor. They merely protected or shielded these thugs, and that is where the problem comes in. But more importantly, Paul Mashatile, as the deputy president of the country, has remained mum on this issue ever since it has happened. And that is a travesty of justice, because he's the deputy head honcho of the country, and it is his protection unit that were involved. But, you know, one of the reasons given at the disciplinary hearing for the acquittal is that the authenticity of the damaging or the seemingly damaging video evidence against the alleged thugs could not be verified. Now, we must bear in mind that a disciplinary hearing automatically falls under the auspices of the Labor Relations Act, meaning that whatever happens at the DC can be extended to the CCMA or the Labor Court. And you don't need evidence beyond reasonable doubt. You know, it's the dictum of on the balance of probability that will exist. But I just want to look at something that is very important in comparison as to why this acquittal happened. If we go back to the days of apartheid, we've seen many footages of security, the South African security police attacking our people, you know, when they were protesting. There was no dispute of that, those images, you know, they were there for everybody to see. And what more do you need than a video footage to prove, even beyond reasonable doubt, that a crime has been committed? And, you know, this was institutional protection. And it goes to the people involved. Senzo Mkhunu, our Minister of Police, also remained silent. And this is where our problem comes in, because if we want to protect those that serve us in the manner in which they do, especially the Blue Light Brigade, we are looking for trouble. And I think many listeners might have encountered this Blue Light Brigades. I've encountered one about 2 weeks ago, and I was on the fast lane, and a vehicle without, an unmarked vehicle, Bucky, was flashing lights at me. I refused to move because I felt it was unsafe at the time. And I'd like to urge the South African road user, there is no law that dictates that a brigade or a Blue Light Brigade escorting a minister must be allowed first preference on the roads or easy access. There is no law. And if you are attacked, then obviously you can institute civil or legal proceedings against the said minister or the people involved. But we must remember something. No act of the police or enforcement service agencies is above the constitutional aspect of our country. Our constitution protects us. So any marauding or bullying on the road must be stopped. And if we don't stop it by actively not adhering to this bullying, because you see them racing at breakneck speed, you know, and it puts people into danger. People are fearful. Sometimes female drivers who might be on the way are just pushed aside. Now, it is my belief that if we want to change the country, we change it from the top now. Because the deputy president should have spoken out against this acquittal. Although I'm not privy to the transcripts of the hearing, but to find someone not guilty on the basis of the evidence presented on the video says more about who and what transpired there. And lastly, I just want to bring this in. This entire procedure had cost the taxpayer about 235,000 rands. 112,000 for the chairperson. I mean, I've never heard of such a exorbitant cost for a chairperson. And then 119,000 for the employer representatives. And the taxpayer had to foot this bill for the criminal acts of our Deputy President's Protection Unit. And this is where I think the country, the people need to stand up, and Paul Mashatile and Senzo Mkhuzi, the ministers and the Deputy President must answer as well.
So I think the message you're getting, Narend, is that no government official can be in a hurry, and all South Africans are urged not to accede to this marauding brigade. Follow the rules of the road as everyone else does, and give way only when you are satisfied that your safety is certain and those flashing lights must not intimidate you. Of course, with an ambulance, because of the emergency of transferring the patient, that we try our level best to give them away. But also there are concerns, and I mentioned it earlier, that a lot of criminals are marauding with these blue lights also, and they sometimes stop people. And, if one is not certain that it's a traffic official, then you move on and even drive to the nearest police station. So I think it's a message that Narend is indicating that nobody is above the law, and we need to understand the importance of adhering to the road standards and the road rules, but do what is necessary to protect our safety.
Yunus, may I just quickly add something?
You can come
with regards to the criminals using blue lights to attack people, these very protection units use unmarked vehicles without license plates. And if they are setting the example, criminals will merely follow that procedure without license plates, and make a situation where people think they are the real deal, but they are not. So it boils down to the system that we have, and it's systemic protection of these people that has led to us having a discussion on this matter today.
Thank you, Narend. I want to bring Preggy in to wrap up his side, because I want to continue with our financial discussions as well as an update on the India-Pakistan ceasefire. Preggy, perhaps you just want to wrap up on your side. I know there's some important comments Moulana mentioned. And Moulana, there's also some comments. Mark Munsami sent a comment, well presented, Moulana Tariq. So you do have listeners there that are appreciating the comments that are coming through. But Preggy, on your side, you just want to wrap up exactly on the way forward and what you perceive that civil society must do going forward.
So firstly, I want to say thank you to Moulana. I think he's on the right track, and I think that is the collective view in which we can bring an end to the water crisis. Going forward, I think, we need to get a moratorium on the curtailment of water supply to the eThekwini municipality. So we need to bring back the 112 million litres that has been stopped by the national government in terms of the water going into the municipality water treatment plants. That will alleviate some of the problems that are faced by residents. But side by side with it, there must be a comprehensive plan that will start to see that the 58.2% of water that is being wastefed needs now recouped by the city, and the city has put back in as early as October last year, made it known that they got a plan of action. It is left to councillors, and Moulana, I would like you to bring this up together with other councillors, and if there's other councillors listening, to hold the city accountable to ensuring that the program of allowing ward-based plumbers to repair leaks, the program in which they very clearly made mention of metering people who are out meters. Now, that would also include informal settlements. I think there's a massive wastage of water because they are not paying for it. I believe that everybody has a right. So I'm not against the idea that an informal settlement must get water. But I think there are working people in those settlements, that there should be a process by the city to put in meters. It will help with regard, firstly, to revenue that would go towards building and improving infrastructure, but at the same time, making them responsible for this. Now, if we put together a 12-month program monitoring the issue of water, we would see a great improvement. Now, this, again, has to be civil society pushing this agenda with councillors who are the representative people that is taking this matter forward. Just on that point, if we could recover 30% of that water, it'll go a long way in improving water supply through the reservoir system. There's two other things that I need to say. I'm not in favor of the restrictor system, because the restrictor system is simply just a process that's accepting the faults of our municipality. There is no need at this period of time that ratepayers of Durban needs to be in a restrictor system. We are going through massive rains with global warming. The dams are full. Right now, water is going past the dams into the sea. It should go into treatment plants. I believe that there is a responsibility for us to protect our procurement of water over the future that can be monitored. But at this point, we have an overflowing system. And like I said, so those are the important factors that needs to be taken right now. People should not made to be suffered with regard to these things, and we should get water in.
Thank you very much, Preggy, for joining us and sharing some very important information for us. We will have you back in soon, just to unpack some other issues. We're running out of time now. We got other guests in, but Moulana Tariq, you just want to conclude on the issue of that council resolution today on the debt relief program. You want to just sum up and close on that note, Moulana?
Council has had a council meeting today, and there's just one matter that was discussed, meaning one item.
And this was the debt relief.
The debt relief, yeah.
At least they're giving back to the community something now.
So
yes, if you can just explain briefly what the resolution is all about.
I'm urging our listeners to take full advantage of this debt relief, and this is an ideal platform of In Focus for us to actually go out and inform them there. So this is subsequent to the consumer settling the 50% of the area's debt owing as the 31st of January 2025 as stated, as a customer must settle the entire debt for the months of February to April 2025. Should the customer not be in financial position to settle the debt for the month of 31st January 2025, such a customer may enter into a payment plan for exceeding 6 months without making any down payment. This is a special debt relief will be linked to the settlement of the outstanding debt for the months between February and June 2025 without any further relief. The special debt relief program will run until the 30th of June 2025 to bring the financial accountability to an end. For water loss insurance, customers who submitted claims for water leaks but were paid by insurance only part of the amount claimed. The difference of the capital debt between the amount claimed, average monthly consumption, and the amount paid by the insurance will be written off. Where proof of water loss can be provided but no insurance claim was lodged, the difference capital debt between the consumer consumption bill and the average monthly consumption will be written off. I urge the community to link up with the ward councillors, link up with the members official of councillors, link up with the Sizakala centers so that they can take full benefit of this. And especially for those people that are struggling to pay the bills. It's something that you should take advantage of this year. And it should be an accountable process also to the municipality in terms of, yes, how we administer and how we do this. And I'm sure our suffering residents can benefit from this program. And as a debt relief program, I think we welcome programs like this so that our poor citizens can basically benefit from this. As much as they say, listen, they have to pay so much when they was hardly receiving water, but they have to pay these exorbitant bills here. And these are an opportunity for us to take full loss. So we did say that, yes, it must be an educational program. It must be an awareness program. So even people that don't have social media use, our old pensioners and senior citizens, they must take full advantage of this.
Shukran, Moulana. You were lucky. You brought some good news, breaking news, which just took place today into this program. Alhamdulillah. As Moulana mentioned, those people who have debts outstanding, please keep in touch with your councillors. But we will cover more of this issue in next week's program and in other programs during the course of the week. I thank both Preggy and Moulana. And Narend, you want to just make your concluding comments?
Yeah. I'm just on the water issue. I think both the gentlemen have spoken much sense. And I think it's up to the people now to pressurize their councillors, to pressurize the municipality exec to re-examine how they deliver water, how they deliver the infrastructure, and how they change the infrastructure. And just lastly, on the point that I spoke on with regards to the Blue Light Brigade, I'm appealing to the public as a whole. Do not be intimidated by these marauding people, because they have no they don't know the consequences of their actions, and eventually, one life lost will be one life too many. So
Thank you,
we better watch out.
Narend, and I thank both Preggy, Moulana Tariq, and Narend to join us. We'll take a break and we'll continue with our discussions with our other guests after the break.
Plan your dream holiday with the specialist, World of Travel, as we pride ourselves in offering you the best in Hajj and Umrah. We also offer travel packages to the Middle East, Far East, and many more exotic destinations. Call our professional travel consultants now on 031 20 8877 or view our website www.worldoftravel.co.za. Visit us at 44 Crescent Street as memorable journeys begin with World of Travel by Irshad Malik.
Ladies, are you or a loved one diagnosed with cancer, or are you on treatment, or are you a cancer survivor? Then the Al Ansar Cancer Support Group is for you. Join us once a month and be a part of a supportive group of ladies to simply chat, discuss challenges, and be motivated by our guest speakers. Contact Rubina Parak on 082-786-8815 or Zora Jadwat on 082-220-3131 for more information. No one should face cancer alone.
The slice of life, just 9 Rand 50 a loaf. More than just bread, it's a lifeline. For only 9 Rand 50, you can help feed orphanages, old age homes, and communities in need. Every loaf goes to someone who truly needs it. Share the warmth, share a slice. Together, we can make a difference. Call Outreach on 031 208 1601. This Eid al-Adha, remember the ultimate sacrifice and your duty to humanity. Join the Al Ansar outreach in reaching over 70 villages in Malawi. For just 1,200 Rand, your Qurbani is slaughtered, cleaned and distributed under the supervision of our respected Mufti. Make your Qurbani count. Call Al Ansar outreach today, 031 208 1601.
Do you know what really gets under my skin? When my cake or icing just doesn't come out right. It's such a bummer. But I found this incredible margarine called Wooden Spoon, and it's been a total lifesaver for my baking adventures. It makes my icing turn out just perfect every time. When I whip up something with Wooden Spoon, I feel like a master baker. Seriously, my cakes have never looked better. The secret? Wooden Spoon margarine. It's like the magic ingredient for nailing those perfect bakes. And guess what? It's even endorsed by the South African Bakers Guild Association. Just another quality product from the Willowton Group.
اللهم إنك ترى ما نزل بنا في غزة من الأحوال يا ذا الجلال والعزة يا ذا الجبروت والعزة اللهم أعز أهل غزة اللهم فرج عن أهل غزة اللهم فرح أهل غزة اللهم انصر أهل غزة اللهم داو جريحهم اللهم اشف مريضهم اللهم اقبل شهيدهم اللهم ارحم ميتهم اللهم كفف جراحاتهم وبرد آلامهم اللهم واجعل لهم وللمسلمين فرجا قريبا يا الله اللهم فرج عنا وعن المسلمين في كل مكان اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين واخذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداء الدين يا رب العالمين سبحانك سبحانك ترى الظالمين فتمهلهم حتى يظنوا أنك تهملهم وتبتلي الصالحين في الدنيا حتى يستيئسوا فإن استيئسوا أتيتهم بنصرهم اللهم إنك تعلم أن جراحات المسلمين كثيرة وآلامهم كثيرة في كل مكان وفي كل زمان اللهم فانصرنا على أعدائنا يا الله اللهم فثبت أقدامنا يا الله
Radio Al Ansar, Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Maritzburg 105.6 FM.
यादें हुजूर की कसम गफलत ऐश है सितम खूब है कैद गम में गम खूब है कैद
में हम कोई हमें छुड़ाए क्यों या रसूल अल्लाह الحمد لله ما شب الهدى وحباه وما تكلم جزع بالحشا طربا وحين من زاد أبد لا غشاء له تورق الصبح في كفي وانتصبا اللهم السلام ومنك السلام تباركت ربنا ذا الجلال والإكرام اللهم السلام ومنك السلام تباركت ربنا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا رب العالمين يا رحمن يا رحيم صلي ربي وسلم على خير المرسلين يا رب العالمين يا رحمن يا رحيم صلي ربي وسلم على خير المرسلين.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the final session of Newsfeed Focus live on Radio Al-Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Marisburg 105.6 FM, and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. My name is Yunnus Sacoor, and I was in your company for the last 1.5 hours. We're continuing our discussion this evening, and I'd like to introduce our resident economist, asset manager, Brother Hassan Motala. Hassan, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al-Ansar International.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hassan, before I talk about Loaded for Bear Budget 3.0 faces an event horizon that could suck SA into a black financial hole, I want to mention that Trump is disappointed to learn that South African refugees have no farming expertise. They were just a bunch of car guards, he says. So they went there and, in a move that was surprisingly absolutely no one except himself, US President Donald Trump expressed profound disappointment this week upon discovering that the first group of South African refugees admitted under his much-hyped Mission South Africa initiative are in fact not sun-bronzed farmers wearing khakis and chewing on straw, but rather a loose collection of ex-car guards, part-time rappers, and one guy named Bradley who claims to have almost bought a tractor once, So these guys are all, sort of a mockery to this whole refugee thing, and our president will be meeting with him in due course. But coming back to the Budget 3.0, a call for the nation to go beyond partisan politics. Now, they say that South Africa's budget process reflects the nation's ongoing struggle to balance economic growth, social development, and fiscal responsibility. Now, the minister, had this approved in budget, the first session, and unfortunately, there was a court case, and there was a realization that this VAT increase will not work, and there was a reversal. Now, how is the government going to find the funds that is required for the shortfall, the deficit?
Sure. Look, it's a tough call. I think the obvious area was to cut back on expenditure, but that's unlikely to happen. Or if there is going to be cut back on expenditure, it'll be certain areas which doesn't relate to wages, because they have committed to a 3-year wage deal with most of the major unions and the public sector. So that is an issue. There's a lot of fat, as I said last week and many other times. There's huge amount of fat in terms of the government itself, the cabinet, and the extended provincial and municipalities. There's a huge amount of excess capacity that can be cut in those areas. Whether they have the willpower to do it, that's again another big question mark around it. I think they will be looking to slash potentially again on the infrastructure side. Although the president talked about it in his State of Nation address, and he focused on, and they tried to harp on the point around infrastructure spending and the like. There could potentially be some cuts coming through on that. But remember, it's a 75 billion shortfall over the next 3 years, over the next 2 years or so. So it's a big amount. The easiest way was obviously raising taxes, but the problem is this government has just used the easy way out over the last number of years. We talked earlier in terms of Blue Brigade and Blue Light Brigade and those things. Those are all wasteful, unnecessary expenditure that can be cut. Why is there a need for one of the ministers and the like to have a car in front of him, a car in the back of him, filled with 7-8 security personnel? No need for it.
SAP's Metro Police also following.
If you remember, I remember the late Praveen Godan. I was one day in a supermarket in Cape Town in Sea Point. He had one security personnel. He went himself into the supermarket. He was going to a pharmacy. I think it was Click, so I can't remember. Himself, his security was just standing by the door. He himself carried his own basket. He walked in, put his items, went out, and his security walked him back to his car. One guy went in a Toyota. But we've got a lot of the cadres and it's just, unfortunately, it's an unfortunate thing, and it's become entrenched. That can be cut out. That saves millions of rands if you cut those things out. We've got the biggest cabinet in the world. We shouldn't need that. Why should a small country in the southern tip of Africa have bigger cabinets than countries' GDPs around the world that are 10, 20 times our size? But we've got a bigger cabinet. We don't need that. Again, we need to cut the fat of that. The third area where I think he could, but I think we need to encourage economic growth. And to do that, you need to be a lot more flexible in terms of policies. Our policies in the country in terms of attracting foreign investment and even local private sector investment, it is too bureaucratic and too constraining. We need to ease that. Labor, we need to ease a bit more in terms of our labor laws and our policies to make it more flexible so that private sector and foreign companies can come in and invest and at the same time create a lot of... Yesterday, unemployment numbers, or was it today, yesterday, unemployment numbers came out. 32.9% unemployment. We lost over 200,000 jobs in the last quarter.
Isn't South Africa the highest in unemployment?
One of the highest in the world.
The next highest is under 10%.
Correct. So we've got 33%, which is sort of formalized. But if you use an expanded definition, it's over 40%. And the biggest issue is in the youth. If you take the under 21 number, we're sitting at 50% plus. That is huge. That creates social instability for the future. If we do not address that, it's going to create a huge amount of social instability, and we need to address that urgently going forward. That means addressing the labor laws, making it attractive. So bringing, if somebody wants to set up a company into the country, or somebody wants to, bring in money, make it easy for them to set up a company, to get registered, get your bank account set up and things like that. Make it easy and efficient to do it. Don't make it difficult and you have to pay this person and pay that person because you need to get it done. I mean, it is ridiculous. It has become so endemic corruption. For example, there was a program, or I read an article the other day in one of the Eastern Cape Towns. I think it was Mthatha. the courts to get an application into court and the like. You had to pay somebody who's being paid well. You had to pay him an extra 5,000 or 10,000 to get your on the court roll. It's ridiculous. Why is it becoming so entrenched in this country? And that's an issue that's going to take time to resolve. If you address the economic growth, it will ease the pressure in terms of spending, and then it'll allow the minister and the budget to be utilized towards key areas. Infrastructure is a big issue. I mean, there was an article yesterday by one of the MoneyWeb editors. He lives in Johannesburg in an area called Melville. He drives to Johannesburg, to the MoneyWeb's head office in Houghton every day. It's a 10-minute drive. He says it's one of the most painful things he has to do every day. 10-minute drive, but on the way, there's 4 traffic lights, 2 of them not working. One hasn't been working for a few months. Secondly, the amount of potholes he has to navigate along the way to get to work. Thirdly, you have well-paid Johannesburg traffic officers that are meant to be those lights. But who's the person that is manning that traffic light? A car guard. Why? You well-paid officers that meant to do the jobs, not going around and trying to get this type of bribe and looking at it. Do the job and do your job properly, and that's what we need to be done. They're being paid for it. Now the budget is an issue. We must be realistic. In all likelihood, debt is going to continue to increase. And that's a challenge. And the risk with debt, remember now we are paying 22 cents of every rand is going towards paying interest, debt repayment. That's a massive amount that's going. And if you continue to increase in debt, that means more and more of our budget is going to be going towards debt. You cannot do that. We can't go the route of many other Latin American countries and other way. We have to go to the IMF and World Bank and go for bailouts. We go with our begging bowl and go. You can't do that because then there's massive restrictions that are then placed on you to get those loans. We need to do it by getting a lot more stricter in terms of how we're spending, at the same time creating policies and implementing them that is business friendly as well.
We'll come back to you, Hassan, on SARS said to be planning billions blitz to collect outstanding tax and some of the initiatives to actually alleviate the problem of balancing the budget. It's interesting when he does budget 3.0 to see what he comes up with. There's lots of different kinds of propositions he's looking at. Curtailing expenditure is a major problem. It might not be easy because you've already employed these officials. But I want to bring in our guests from Pakistan South Africa Association, Brother Fayaz Khan. He was with us last week. He's the head of political and international affairs. Fayaz, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to News in Focus Live on Radio Al Ansar International.
Wa alaikum salam.
I'd also like to welcome Sophie Rizwan. He's the Senior Vice President, Pakistan South Africa Association. Sophie Bhai, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
And shukran for joining us. Last week we chatted briefly about the attack that India had over Pakistan, those missiles they fired, and you mentioned that Pakistan will retaliate. Press reports coming through is that Pakistan says over 50 killed in the last week's India clashes. And obviously, India is saying that, a lot of damage is on their side. But Alhamdulillah, after a few days, America stepped in and realized that, listen, India and Pakistan have got a good association with America, and this war cannot continue. It'll have an serious impact worldwide. So Alhamdulillah, there's been a ceasefire. Now, we're not sure the ceasefire is to ensure that IPL continues and PSL continues, because coincidentally, both those cricket tournaments will be continuing on Saturday. But we're hoping, because the countries are neighbors and there's, people that are involved, civilians are involved, and on both sides, I think both prime ministers are saying, we cannot now harm civilians and respect one another. So there's a ceasefire, but perhaps you just want to give us a quick report from the Pakistani perspective, exactly what has happened and what gave rise to the ceasefire.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I offer my sincere condolences to the families of both sides, India and Pakistan, for the loss of the innocent people, children, women, scholars.
It shouldn't happen, but it happened because of Mr. Modi create that environment and he was pursuing his fascist agenda. Pakistan never wanted to retaliate, or Pakistan never wanted to attack, or we does not have any ambition for aggression against India or any neighbor countries, but it was too unfortunate. And as I mentioned in previous interview, that if India attacked again that night, then the response will be very harsh, because Pakistan were very well calculated and prepared. And well, it was fortunately that with both nuclear power, America interfere and we cease the ceasefire, and we hope it is implemented. Up till now, we have news now and then unconfirmed and confirmed that there are some skirmishes that still taking place across the line of control, but mostly everything is calm and we heading towards maybe a good reconciliation and understanding.
Now tell me, the 1 month ceasefire, before that there'll be discussions to have a complete ceasefire. So that 1 month is like a pause period to have discussions and develop some kind of an arrangement between India and Pakistan to have a long-lasting peace in the region. Okay, Kashmir is still a problem on India's side, Pakistan's side. And the main reason why India indicated is they believe that they are terrorists in the Pakistani side of Kashmir that caused the problem, and Pakistan denied that. But do you believe this 1 month of pause period or ceasefire will result in improved relationship between the two countries?
Well, when it's come to people or public to public, we don't have any issues when it come with the religion, and when it's come with a different culture. We have so much similarity and same wishes for our Indian brothers, and from India, larger number even for Pakistan. We don't have any issues with each other. It is deep state who has the ulterior agenda or some agenda that they're pursuing, and for what the situation become like this. I still hope from Pakistan side it will be still they will still hope, because we do not want to end in a war with any country, and people are not permitting the government, or we not pursuing any agenda. So from our side, from Pakistan side, it will be holding. Things are sometimes get heated, but Pakistan is we have a numbers of pragmatic and think tanks that look after the affairs. They will not make any sentimental decision or irrational decision. So they will do it whatever is better for the region and for Pakistan. So we hope that we will remain in a ceasefire and we will build understanding. But when again, when India will start infiltrating, or if India start blaming with the same way Pakistan. So when the word of terrorist is very common for someone to tell, but one terrorist is someone's hero. Nelson Mandela, when he released and when he was his first visit to the USA, he was still in the list of the terrorists, but he was a world iconic leader.
And they call themselves freedom fighters rather than terrorists. But at the same time, people mustn't bring in other agendas in the name of war. So the world is hopeful that there's enough wars in Russia, Ukraine, Palestine has been, reduced to smithereens. Children are being persecuted. Women are being persecuted. The place is in ruins. Now at least some light is coming through where Trump is now beginning to see that Israel is really getting out of hand, and that needs to be sorted out. And we're not sure whether Israel was using India as a yardstick to move the focus to somewhere else so they can continue with the bombing. But I think, from the world's perspective, I think it's good news that timeously this war stopped. It didn't go on for too long and there was minimal damage. And both the countries realized the power of each other in ensuring that let's not create more damage and more instability. Rather, we cease and we begin to talk, because this tension between India and Pakistan has gone on for too long, and it can't be a religious tension or a tension about perceptions on India's side specifically that they are terrorists on the other side.
No, the pilot who had give a maximum pen or maximum demolition or destroy maximum military installation from Pakistan was a Christian guy. So it's not about religion, that he was not, a Christian wasn't coming and killing Hindus, or that it was a Christian guy, Mr. Bhatti, and who has done a great job for his country and everybody. But again, we don't have issues over there. But if Mr. Modi pursue his RSS agenda in South Asia, he's being eliminated. He's getting he does not enjoy any more a good relation with the South Asian country, even with Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, even with China. So they no longer. But the fact is that give us a great pleasure is not that we celebrating we fought with India and we win. Of course we win, and of course Pakistan played a big role and they defeated India. And the pleasure for us as a nation is that Indian Modi and RSS agenda was to be a superior in the South Asia, which is forever. It got buried, it was defeated, and it was destroyed. That whether if your country is a smaller or bigger nation or weak or stronger, they still need to be respected. There is still obligation they need to be looked after. You cannot be superior by any basis. So we are happy that he's been eliminated. He cannot claim any longer to be the superior of the South Asia. And another favor he has done, that we were recently Pakistani community with their social and other cultural and other life, they were a little bit shattered. We were very much divided, unfortunately, for some unknown and known reasons. What Modi Saab did to us, they brought the whole Pakistani nation abroad in Pakistan together. And this unity will be also an exemplary, and this unit will bring our country, take it more forward, and we will sit together and start to embrace each other, to tolerate each other and listen to each other. So this war monger, Mr. Modi, has done a favor for Pakistan, that they brought the whole nation together now, and we become like a unified nation.
And he learned a bitter lesson, that he tried his luck and he fell short. Hassan, we're running out of time, and we have a few minutes to wrap up. You were mentioning from a financial angle in South Africa that we got a huge problem. Unemployment is approximately 33%, highest in the world. Unemployment is getting worse, but we need to relook at our fiscal policy. Certain areas of curtailment of expenditure, like cutting jobs, etc., it's not something that can be done easily. But other types of expenditure can be curtailed. And obviously, they're going to look at other channels of stimulating revenue, like tourism and economic development, etc. But SARS was mentioning that they want to go about a campaign of collecting tax from those that are evading tax, and at the same time look at other sources of stimulating revenue. Perhaps you want to conclude on what type of revenue stimulation SARS will be looking at, over and above tackling the guys that are overtaxed already, but other initiatives. And I know some of the experts were talking about, like, the kind of deductions people are getting from a tax purposes. They may decide to not to allow those deductions, etc.
So there's a couple of key areas. The first is they're going to target the illicit trade. So you remember cigarettes, they're actually going after cigarettes. It seems to be quite a bit. So illicit trade, whether it be cigarettes or even I think, like, for example, the taxi industry, many areas which are not proper formal and largely informal, but big businesses as well. If you look at many of those industries, they're relatively big. They will be going after them. So you are seeing remember in the first budget and the second budget, there was an allocation to SARS in terms of, so it'll allow them to invest in their systems and people so they can go after that. We'll have to see now in this third budget whether there'll still be an allocation for them to do that. Because SARS in the last 3 years seems to have been hitting their targets by and large, and it's under Edward Kieswetter, and he seems to be doing a relatively good job from that. So I think they will be focusing on some of the areas like the illicit trade and areas that are outside a bit of the formal economy, but are still relatively large. The second thing is they're going to be targeting where there are outstanding debts. They will focus on that, try and collect as much as they can, and obviously where they can, where they can recoup in terms of assets, they will go. The third is where you've got your high net worth and corporates in terms of using of whether it's trust and things like offshore companies, and where you're having transfer pricing, that closing more of the loopholes around that there and trying to recover more on that. You have seen certain cases in the last year where SARS has been taken to court. In certain cases, they've been successful, certain cases not so successful. But I think by and large, they will be focusing on areas like that where they believe there is a strong case to recover and close a loophole potentially with some of these trusts they've been going after a lot in the last 2-3 years. Remember, trust is a big use by many of the wealthy families and the like to save in terms of inheritance tax and other areas of forms of tax as well. And I think it's an area which they're trying to focus on to try and close some of that there. So I think those are the large areas. In terms of the economy we just talked about area, tourism is a massive opportunity. Let us not underestimate it. Durban, last weekend, we had the Cup final, Nedbank Cup final, which was Kaiser Chiefs and Orlando Pirates that came here. Durban was pumping this past weekend. If you went on Saturday or Sunday to the beachfront or any part of the Florida Road area, it was exceptionally busy. So the hotels were pumping, the restaurant trade was busy. It was a bumper weekend. Next week we've got the Africa, the Africa Travel in Durban. In Durban, hotels are close to 90% booked for next week. Again, so there is an opportunity to create jobs and to create revenue for the city. Just we need to do certain things, get it right. And I'll close off on this point where we can do it right and where we are lacking in terms of eThekwini. eThekwini, if I look at what we're paying in terms of our, and your guests in the first half of the program talked at length about it, in terms of what we're paying in terms of our municipal bills, take a 2 million rand home. Just I'm using at the middle income end, 2 million rand home. City of Cape Town, the monthly bill in total is about 4,200 rand. Your rates, water, sewage. eThekwini, 4,900. That's a 700 rand more on 4-2. That's a 15% or 6 more. That's 15-16% increase on what somebody's paying in Cape Town for the same value of the house. But are we getting that value of services here in eThekwini relative to what's happening in Cape Town? Similar in Joburg. Joburg is also paying similar as us, but they're getting also probably worse than what we're getting in eThekwini. That's the issue. So let's use the money appropriately. We're paying. People are paying their taxes, paying their rates and the like. Use it effectively. Get the roads sorted out. Get the water services. I mean, this past week, the amount of water disruptions we've had in the Overport, Morningside, Musgrave area, it's ridiculous. In Reservoir Hills and those places, they've had electricity and water disruptions. Cannot go on like this. Use the money effectively. You get that right, you get the electricity, water, and transport right. Business will flock in more. They will spend and set up more money, whether it's our Pakistani brothers that are coming and putting money into businesses here, whether it's the local guys that are doing it, or whether it's other foreign countries. It's an opportunity for more investment in the city, and we can do it. Problem is, get the services right, get the infrastructure right. One risk that we do face as both provinces in KZN and Gauteng is that in the budget 3.0, there's a potential. I know some of the MECs and all are talking about in KZN that unlikely that there's going to be a cut in the provincial budgets, but that's a possibility as well. So we must be wary of that as well. But let's hope there's no cut and that we're using the budget effectively in the year ahead.
Shukran, Hassan. Your closing comments, Fayaz Bhai, to your Pakistani, South African residents and our Indian brothers. There's a lot of hope as far as you are concerned.
They're well aware that the entire world, Pakistan, and peace-loving people, they ungraciously rejected the blame or false fake operation of Mr. Modi and RSS. Remember, it's not all about religion. It's not about Hinduism and Islam. It is about Kashmir right, and it is about the human rights. And they politicizing that and making it a religious matter. It should not come in a South African society. South Africa is very tolerant society, beautiful society, humble society. We can still sit together. We can still talk to each other. We can still come out. India and Pakistan issue should not affect. It must not have any impact on our daily life, our business life, our social life between Hindus, Muslim, Christian. All we are brothers, and we loud, and we must observe the sanctity of our worship places, our events, and our way of life. That we will do it. We will always stand with all our community. We will not going against any line. We will not cross any line. The community will be educated. They will be giving a fair. We will be sharing a fair information with them. But it was unfortunate, and there was agenda which was completely destroyed. Now we don't want to sit with a conversation that who's holding the South Asian, who is the South Asian power, mighty, military mighty. So we must not worried about all that. We must carry on with our life. There is a ceasefire. It will hold. Our wish is that it should hold, and let the people live with peace and do their daily life without any fear or any disturbance or obstacle.
Well responded, Brother Fayaz. You dressed up it all green. Green is in your blood, I can say. But Alhamdulillah, at least we know there's peace, and at least normal, affairs are resuming. Flights are now back on track. And we pray that after this 1 month ceasefire, that, peace talks will take place, and both India and Pakistan will have a good relationship. There's a lot of potential between each other. And why worry about things that are unnecessary and, have pride and materialism becoming the order of the day? So on that note, we've run out of time as usual. We thank you for joining us, Fayaz, but you're always welcome to give us an update. Hassan, shukran for the update you've given us. Always welcome. We know that we had quite an inspiring program. I think very important is a decision taken by eThekwini municipality to stimulate their huge debt recovery. Is there a message? Yeah, so, at least there's a huge debt recovery from eThekwini's point of view. There's also one message came through. Thank you, Preggy, for all the sacrifices you make whenever there is power outage or no water. You always attend to these matters speedily and make sure Mayville, Sherwood, and Westfield community are sorted out in quick turnaround time. This is part of my summary that ratepayer associations are beginning to play a very important role in civil society. But before I talk about that, we're going to continue these discussions in future programs. I want to mention that the eThekwini municipality took a bold decision today to give a 50% discount on all outstanding debts accrued up to and including 31st January 2025, so that they can recover the balance, as long as people make that application before 30th June 2025. So if there's a 27 billion debt, I'm using a rough figure, indications are it's quite high. And if they get people to start paying, that brings in money which can be used for budgetary purposes. It'll increase their liquidity, and they're able to use the funds to provide services for people and improve service delivery over and above the other initiatives that they want to take. But my conclusion in that respect is that civil society have to be active and hold municipalities accountable for improving service delivery, because as Hassan mentioned, that this business of large potholes, sinkholes, etc. is becoming a huge problem, and people are damaging their vehicles. Over and above that, the sewage overflow, the stormwater overflow, other service deliverables that are not taking place, it's impacting on people's ability. As it is, people are poor, and they're going to pay these high electricity and water accounts, but they don't have monies to sustain themselves. So we make du'as that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assist the communities that are in need, also give guidance to our leaders. It's an amanat they hold, at ministerial level, whether it's Modi, whether it's the Pakistan president or others, they all are in positions of amanat for the communities, and they must ensure they work in the best interest of the communities. And we have to make du'as that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide these people to understand the fulfillment of this amanat that they hold and provide the necessary services for our people, both for the employed and unemployed, to make sure that people live a comfortable life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided the entire world is connected for the benefit of our people. So on that note, we close News in Focus for this evening. We must make du'as. The month of Zilhajj is coming. We must continue with our obedience of Allah's commandments as shown to us by Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, perform our 5 times salah, men in Jamaat, women at home, continue with our good humanitarian work, give a lot of charity, help people that are in need, and ensure that, we share our resources to benefit society at large. On that note, we will have a program once again next Wednesday, same time at 8 p.m. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.